Our next guest is a presentation of the Arnold Palmer designed Whistler Golf Club, counting down to opening day on May 10th. We're less than 2 weeks away here, Blake. Club reminds organizers, groups of 12 or more, it's time to lock in those 2024 tee times. The prime times are filling up fast, and just for reaching out to hold that tee time, you, the organizer, plays for free. Whistler Golf Club takes care of the rest. Tell us about your group at whistlergolf.com/groups. I'm told the course wintered great, and of course the Bears are back, so check out all the spring preparations at Whistler Golf on social. Here he is, former Vancouver Canucks head coach, one of 3 coaches in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs to play and win games in a series with 3 different goaltenders. Marc Crawford, Rick Tocchet, and Bill Ray of the 1971 Chicago Blackhawks. He joins us from Switzerland, where his Zurich club is in the finals. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing really good. It was such an exciting night last night. We got the game with the TNT feed over here in Switzerland. So I stayed up. It started at 11 o'clock, and I stayed up till 2 in the morning watching it. So that was outstanding. I woke up my wife and my daughter when they scored to tie it up with 6 seconds to go.
Well, you've been a part of some crazy ones, Mark. Where does that one rank in terms of crazy games you've seen?
That's as crazy as I've seen it. You know, first of all, I thought Nashville obviously carried the play for the game, and they really were out trying to just be menaces all over the ice, and they were hitting everything that moved. I thought, that line with Tucker and North Van's Sissons, they were just sensational last night. They were getting in everybody's face, and they really carried the momentum, I thought, in the game. And of course, the big kid McCarron was just he was a big bully. But at the end of the day, the Canucks didn't have their best game. But in the playoffs, you got to find a way to win when you aren't playing your best. And the Canucks found what an exciting way to win it with those 2 empty net goals, that face-off play goal in the first period. And then they just, like you talk about breaking a team down, they broke the Nashville Predators down, and it didn't take till the 61st minute to really break them, but they broke. And great going for the Canucks, because that is a special win.
Let me take you back to 2004. You win game 1 with Dan Cloutier. You need Hedberg in game 3, and then Alex Auld comes in and wins game 6. So again, as mentioned, you're one of 2 other people in history who can take us inside this. Where is Rick Tocchet's mind when they inform him after Saturday's practice?
You gotta go to number 3.
We're not sure Casey Smith can go, Coach.
It's actually that had to be just absolutely brutal news for Rick to hear, because Casey played so well in game 3 after maybe not being quite as good in game 2. So you get your goalie, who they spent so much money on this year. I mean, that was a great acquisition by Patrick and Jim Rutherford, because you need, in today's NHL, you need 2 goalies that can play and that can win, and the Canucks have it. But then to lose them, that had to be just disheartening. But give the kid, the young Latvian Silovs, he was remarkable last night. He was probably the best thing for me in the Canucks win, because his play, you could really see with the players that he was inspiring confidence in his play. I think about the drive play by, I can't remember which Nashville Predator that was, but for him to stand in there and make that save, I thought that was, usually you watch the body language of the Canuck players, and the Canuck players were really, I think, uplifted with that. This kid's got it tonight. This kid's got it. Like, we're okay. And that's the feeling that your goaltender always has to give your team. A lot of times it's a mental game, and body language is such a big part of it. And I thought young, is his first name Arturs?
Arturs Silovs, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
Arturs is I mean, that was an incredible performance under very, very difficult circumstances.
What is your strategy now pulling the goaltender and when? 2-goal deficit. I mean, we see it all the time. Coaches do it all the time, but I don't know if they have much belief that it's actually going to pay off for themselves. You know, back in the day, of course, it never happened inside 2 minutes. Now you have to get a little bit more aggressive, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and then they got to put him back in. But they built with him going to the bench rather than get it into the offensive end. And like, what's your strategy? And it obviously worked marvelously for Rick Tocchet last night.
Yeah, it absolutely did. It's certainly my strategy now is much sooner than maybe traditionally I would have been. But I have to tell you that I pulled the goalie pretty early in the series against Detroit that we won in 1996. And we were similarly behind by a couple of goals, and we pulled the goalie with about 5 minutes to go. So, you know, the Red Wings were caught unsuspected, and we got it to 5-4 in that game, but they ended up scoring in the empty net to beat us 6-4. So it was probably an ill-advised strategy by me at that time. The league wasn't ready for it just yet, and now the league is. But what a clinic the Canucks performed last night with the extra man. I mean, yeah, you got to have a little luck. And their luck last night was the guy hitting the goalpost. But you know, how they got the puck in, how they moved it to the quiet area, how they isolated the Nashville Predators with their top plays, their movement up top, and how they surrounded the net. I mean, it was just a real thing of beauty. You know, I just loved on the first goal how Lindstrom Lindholm or Lindbergh. I always get those guys confused.
No, Lindholm was in great position.
Yeah, he just, you know, he extended the net. That's what it's called. You extend the net by putting yourself right beside the net. And when you extend the net like that, you know, you get that bounce. And his hands were so good, he got it across. And Besser, who was just on fire last night, he found the back of the net on that one. And that was not as easy a goal as it looked for him, because he still had to get it by a desperate UC Saros. Yes. And then the last goal, I mean, you know, it goes to show you, if you make a mistake on the 5-on-6 coverage, and the mistake was, you know, the guy lost his footing going out, so now Yossi had to come out and try and block the shot, and that opened up the guys underneath. And again, Besser, to be able to have the presence of the mind to get the shot, look for the rebound, find it behind the net, and then take it to the front of the net and put it in the back of the yawning cage. Like that, those hands were just slick, just special. And that's a clinic. We actually showed those clips to our guys today.
Did you? Yeah.
Especially about extending the net.
You know, I think every anybody who's ever played the sport can relate to reaching out, extending, and trying to pull that puck back. Never mind with the seconds ticking down in your head, knowing that the end of the game, and he very easily just could have raked that blade of the back of his stick over the puck and missed it, trying to reel it back into himself into the crease. I mean, the presence of mind and, as you said, just the good hands. I mean, he easily could have fumbled that one.
Yeah. On the other side, like, that is a play that obviously you practice, and the guys knew where they had to be, and they were there. And that's structure, but structure's only so good. You need brilliance, and the brilliance of the skill players is what carries the day. And never forget that. That's why you have skilled players out there, because they got to be able to do the things that, you know, the mere mortals of the game. I mean, if that would have been me, I probably would have, like you said, fumbled a little bit, and I might have got a concussion hitting my head against the boards.
Coach, what do you do with Quinn Hughes now? It's clear that he's fighting through something, and yet if you get the game on Tuesday, you buy him some rest. What have you made of the Canucks captain, and how would you handle what seems to be an injury that he's fighting through, with Predators players targeting him at every opportunity?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he's a player that they know is vital to the Canucks. I mean, he walks the blue line as well as anybody in the National Hockey League, maybe the best that's ever played for the Vancouver Canucks at walking the blue line. And I thought he did a great job, especially with the extra man in last night's game. So he's still obviously fighting through it, and he's finding it. And yeah, when he got crushed there in that sandwich check, and my heart went out to him. But that's playoff hockey. I mean, people play very hard, and it's not a sport in playoff time for players that are weak of heart. And again, I used to always remember Harry Neal. He would always say that, toughness isn't just being able to fight a guy. Toughness isn't being able to battle a guy one-on-one. Toughness is what Quinn Hughes showed last night, being able to suck it up, come back in, give what he got, give what he could. And toughness is being able to withstand that and not let it change your game. And he didn't change his game last night. I thought that was a real feather in his cap, because I think all those players recognized how many hits he's taken in this series, and also they probably know if he does have an injury or not, what he's dealing with. So you need everybody in the playoffs, and last night your special players were special at the right time, even though the Canucks were not. That wasn't a gem of a game for them, to say the least.
Maybe Sergei Gonchar can give them some tips on how to avoid some of the contact. You saw Nick Lidstrom a lot. Like, he never really got stapled, and they're different players.
Yeah.
Hughes a better edge work guy than Lidstrom, but you just couldn't hit Lidstrom. I wonder if Hughes can take a page watching some video of Lidstrom on still being able to be you, but also not get stapled.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, you really do have to, as you say, be you out there. Mm-hmm. And Quinn Hughes is a fine hockey player in his own right. He transports the puck out of his own end so well, and that's such a great thing to have happen when you have a defenseman that can exit the zone on his own. I mean, that stymies forechecks more than just pinpoint passing all the time. And, I like the way that he and Ronick move the puck together. And again, offensively, I still think he walks the blue line as well as anybody. He's always dangerous. He's got his head up all the time. He gets his shot through. So those are 4 or 5 things that you want from your defenseman, plus the ability to go inside. And to go inside, whether it's to make the pass to the inside as opposed to just throwing it up the boards or putting it off the glass, that takes a lot of courage. And once in a while, you're going to get hit, as we've seen from Quinn Hughes.
Second week in a row, Coach, we got to ask you about your progeny and the call not to challenge the Forsberg goal. Once again, it's a stress test with not a lot of time.
Probably the right choice again.
I'm not sure they win that challenge.
Yeah.
But what did you make of the goal, whether it should be allowed or disallowed, and the Canucks' decision not to challenge it?
Yeah, I was sitting there going, you got to challenge that. So it shows you where my mind's at. And thank God I'm not emotionally involved in the game, because those guys, they know the heat of it. And that was a difficult call to make, because it happened right at the start of the third period. There's still lots of time left, but you're sitting there saying, if there's a worse way we can start a period, I don't know what it is. But again, the Canucks have found a way to make those choices insignificant, because their play has been good at the certain points in the game. And last night, even though they didn't have a great 60-minute effort, who says you got to have 60 minutes effort to win? You need to be really good in certain areas of the game, and the Canucks found a way with that. I mean, not enough people talking about how good that face-off goal was. I mean, that was an outstanding face-off goal in the first period. And then, again, that was a clinic with the extra man. It really was. And, they had to have a little luck. So, and those things made it so those calls are insignificant. And when you get a bad call against you in the game, you just got to move forward. And that's the biggest thing. You just keep moving forward and keep trying to answer the next challenge that's right in front of you. And they did a great job of that, certainly in the last 3 minutes.
They were on the verge before that last flurry of setting a new Stanley Cup playoff record for fewest shots through 12 periods. 21, 18, 12, 20. And they've got a 3-1 series lead, Mark. What would you be telling your team today about the low shot totals and shots on goal heading into
You
game
know,
five.
the one thing that I would say is I thought the Canucks had a couple of crossbars in there that don't count. Maybe a post there. They were getting I liked the chances they were producing, especially early and definitely late. So Nashville's a stingy team, and it's like we said the last time we talked. When you can march out Yossi, and you can march out McDonough and Carrier and Lawson. You can march those guys out. It's tough to penetrate against a good D in the National Hockey League. I always look for playoff success. You need at least 4 boss defensemen. And, the Canucks have that now. They certainly can go probably 6 deep to varying degrees with the way that their defense group has played. But the Nashville Predators, that top 4 is a really good top 4, and they're tough to play against. So that's why the Canucks aren't getting a lot of free area because, give Nashville some credit. They defend really well.
So do you have an elimination game speech here? You're getting ready for a game 7 speech yourself for Zurich, but do you have an elimination game speech? Because, boy, do they do themselves all sorts of favors if they win game 5, given they're a little bit banged up. So how do you pound that home?
I just think Rick has been the guy that's had the right messages all year. So, rather than try and give him any advice, I leave it to him and try and find out what he said after the game. So he's been pushing the right buttons.
Yes,
There's never a guarantee. I know in the Minnesota series that we had a number of years ago, I thought our game 5 was really poor, and that probably game 5 more than game 7 cost us the series because that's the game we needed to be ready for. And I think that's probably a situation that Rick's well aware of. Yeah, you want to rest is such a big thing in the National Hockey and health, rest and health, those 2 things. And, maybe a 4th goalie to get a victory.
Well, and that brings us full circle here, Mark. Let's ask you the question. So we've been told it's not a major injury. It is something that Casey DeSmith has played through in the past. Do you go right back there for game 5, or do you let Silovs continue to run?
DeSmith at 90% versus 100% Silovs is probably the
well, yeah, and that'll be the decision for them to make. I think the really good sign is that he did practice, so obviously they didn't feel that whatever percent he was at was going to give them as good a chance to win as young Silovs. And I think that's the same decision moving forward here. But if he's ready and if he's improved and if his percentage goes up, I would have no problem going back with Casey DeSmith. That's why they got the bona fide top backup goaltender. They're one of the teams that has that luxury in the league that went out and knew that they could rely on those backup guys to get the wins, and they need one more.
Mm-hmm. Mark, thanks so much for the time. Amazing insight as always. We wish you the best in game 7 with Zurich. You stick it to Lausanne and their globalist fans, okay?
That's right. You got it. You got it. We're going.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Coach. Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.